Hi folks, it's Andy and welcome to today's Kendo rant. Let's get straight into the questions. Hey Andy, thanks for your rants. I have another two-pronged question. Sometimes I see Kendoka jumping in the air and striking men. Is there a name for this technique? And if so, how often is it used? As far as I know, I don't know of a specific name for that technique. Probably just the jump men, or maybe even in Japanese they might just say jump men or something like that. I know what you're talking about. It's not something you really see in Japan. In fact, I've never seen it in Japan at all, not even once. I know it's been sort of popularized by the Korean national team, I think, because I've seen a few of their members do it, and since they started doing it, I've seen other nations doing it, but I've never seen a Japanese player do it. It seems to me to be an attempt to get over when somebody blocks like this. They're trying to kind of jump over so that they can hit over the top of the shinai like that. In most Japanese shiai, I think even if you hit the men, you wouldn't be awarded the point for that. And yeah, I don't think it's a super useful technique. It's not. It's a little bit too much kind of related to just hitting the ball good for the sake of hitting the ball good, rather than becoming a proper yuko datotsu. Yeah, I think that's why you don't see it score. You wouldn't see it score in Japan even if someone was to do it. So yeah, I can't think of a specific name for it, and I don't think it's something that would be used very often. So yeah, and if you've seen it, I wouldn't go on to copy it. I don't think it's a good technique. I don't think it's a good idea to do that technique. Even if you manage to hit the men, it's not really the way you're supposed to make the datotsu. So yeah, I'd forget about it. And what I would say is the times I have seen it happen in Japan was like at the World Championships in Tokyo, and people, like the people watching, tend to kind of, nobody thinks it looks cool. People tend to kind of ridicule it a bit. So yeah, just bear that in mind too. Anyway, next one. Could it be the person's door is tied too high if his ago is getting stuck behind the mune? Yeah, it could be if your door is tied. I don't know. It could either be tied too high or even too low. It sounds to me if your ago is getting stuck between the sort of behind the mune, the best is to have a small gap between the ago and the top of the mune, but that doesn't work for everybody because everybody's got different body shapes. But if you're at a sort of situation where it's catching on the top of the mune, then you need to adjust the height of the door either upwards or downwards, whichever is more comfortable for you. Next one, long time. I think you posted this in the Kendo Show Early Access group as well. So yeah, thank you for that. If you're not in that group, by the way, and you're watching this, get in it. There's a link in the description down below. It's free to join. You can post questions there, and I will definitely see them. And loads of great discussion tends to come from them as well. And it's also where I post the instructional videos before I post them anywhere else. The latest one, the Orjuwaza video, for example, that's pinned to the top of the group. So if you haven't seen the Orjuwaza video yet, get on and see that. And like I say, if you get in the early access group, you'll be able to see it because it's pinned right to the top of the group. Okay, long time no see. I trained with you once back in 2014 in Kumamoto. Can you talk about Seite Jodo and Seite Iai? Thanks for your comment. Nice to hear from you. I wasn't sure who it was at first because I only saw it on the YouTube, but now I've seen you on Facebook. I remember. So yeah, it's great to hear from you. I hope you're doing very well. Can I talk about Seite Jodo and Seite Iai? Not really, because I don't know very much about them. I'm not a practitioner of either martial art, so all I know is that they're also governed by the All Japan Kendo Federation or the International Kendo Federation, and in most countries the Kendo Federation also governs those arts. But in terms of them as arts, I can't really say much on them because I don't practice them, and I don't really know what I'm talking about when it comes to them. So that's that, I'm afraid. Next one. Hi Andy, I'm thinking about buying a Men Pad just to add extra protection, but honestly do not know if it's really necessary. So I'd like to know your opinion on Men Pads. Do you use it? What's your experience? If so, do you know many people who use it? Thanks for your videos. Okay, so no, I don't use a Men Pad. I don't use a Men Pad because I have a men. If your men fits you well and it's a decent men that's you know, got good protective qualities, then you don't need a Men Pad. I mainly use the Vanguard series, either Vanguard. I've got what I'm mainly sort of rotating at the moment is the Vanguard Prime. I've got a V1 set, the new V1 set. These are all very protective bulk sets, and I've got a Shinobu set as well, which I really love. So, and none of those need a Men Pad for the you know, to get extra protection. They're perfectly protective enough. So I don't use a Men Pad with them. So yeah, and I do have sort of lighter weight ones that are a little bit, even my sort of, the thing is all of the KendoStar Borgu is designed to be protective. So even if I go to Keiko in my Victory Borgu, which is a sort of lightweight Jisen Gata set, it's perfectly fine for Keiko, and I do not need to wear a Men Pad. It doesn't hurt when I get hit with it. So yeah, it's not something that I personally use. We obviously do sell them because there are lots of people that do particularly like to have that extra bit of peace of mind. So yeah, if you're particularly worried about getting hurt, then you can indeed use one. But my advice instead would be sort of think about making sure you've got a Borgu set that's protecting you properly, that fits you well, and like I say, has the protective qualities. So yeah, anything like the Vanguard series obviously is a good buy. Okay, next one. Thanks for sharing all this information about Kendo, your experience and tips. Thank you. The question I have is this: can you make another video about Kendo basics, Japanese language for the dojo? We'd like to hear the commands so some of us can learn by listening. We could not find any video audio that pronounced the words clearly. Thanks in advance. We love your videos. Thank you very much. Okay, so yeah, hang on a sec. I think I printed these out. You actually attached a PDF to this too. This was again posted in the Kendo Show Early Access group, and you were very kind to post this PDF of commands in the dojo, which yeah, I'm happy to run through them now quickly, but at some stage, yeah, maybe I'll do a video about them. But obviously you've got at the top seiretsu. Seiretsu means to line up, so when you do the line up, seiza, so that's to sit down in the kneeled position. I think you've got a bit of a mistake on here though, because you've written kyotsukete, which actually means to kind of be careful or to take care. I think what you've tried to write is, sort of meaning to write is kyotsuke, which is to, like you say, pay attention. And then underneath it you've written shise o tadashite, so correct your posture. So this is when we sit in, we do seiretsu, then we sit down in seiza, and then whoever is leading the gore, the actual the day, will shout one of these, usually shise o tadashite, so correct your posture. Shise o tadashite, so sit up straight, is by far the most common one. In Japan, I've never heard anyone say kyotsuke in this situation. Kyotsuke generally means like pay attention, like they say it in like the police or the army, like to pay attention like this before they might salute. And you say it with kids and stuff when you're playing around, kyotsuke like this, and like this, and they do the sort of salute like that. But it's not really. Potentially you could use, actually, I think the only Kendo situation I might have heard it, it might be my memory playing tricks on me, but you know when you're at a tournament and everybody's lined up, lined up, they could potentially say kyotsuke then, because you'd stand like this and they like this. That's a potential appropriate use of it. But I've never heard it in the dojo when you're sat down. Yes, shise o tadashite, that's a much more appropriate one. Mokuso is obviously the sort of meditating bit. Mokuso yame, so yame means stop, as we know, so that means stop doing mokuso. Shomen nide, so bow to the shomen. And the alternatives, you've got these correctly, is Joseki nide or Kamiza nide. I've never heard Kamiza nide. And in Japan as well, I've never heard the Joseki nide. I have heard Shinzen nide though. Because I used to practice at a dojo that was literally inside of a temple, and it was like a kind of, they had a literal like religious shrine in the dojo, so they said Shinzen nide in that one. Most of the time they say Shomen nide. I've never heard Joseki nide. Joseki means like the high seat. Joseki is the side in which the sensei actually sit. That as the dojo is laid out, that's that side that the sensei sits is called the Joseki. And then the Kamiza nirei. I've never heard that either, but oh, I've heard it. I've heard it outside of Japan. I've never heard it in Japan though. Kamiza is like. Then having said that, I didn't practice in that many dojos that actually had a kamiza. But the kamiza is actually the shrine, the little shrine that you kind of fix on the wall, usually on the shomen. But yeah, most places just say shomen nirei. So yeah. But again, of course, you know, I mean, I've never done kendo in like Iwate or Hokkaido or something like that. I don't know. They could do it totally different in a place like that. I don't know. I'm just talking about where I've done kendo. So. Then yeah, sensei nirei, so bow to the sensei. Otagai nirei, otagai is together toward each other. Kiritsu means to stand up. Menosuke means to, or often they just don't even say or they just say mensuke like that, and means to put on the men, or mentore or menotore means to take off the men. Sonkyo, osameto, yasume. So yeah, your sonkyo obviously is to sit down. The osameto is when you sit down, you do sonkyo. Osameto is usually how they say it, and as they say it, you're supposed to wait until they say to, is like when you put the sword away. And then sometimes they say yasume, which means to relax or kind of rest. But again, I've never heard that so much in Japan. They don't have that sort of culture in the Japanese dojo so much. But again, it could depend on the area. Okay, so that's a brief run through of the PDF you sent. But yeah, maybe I'll do a more in-depth video about that in the future. But yeah, thanks for posting that. I hope it sort of helped a bit. But yeah, leave us more questions about it if you've got them. Okay, next one. Good evening, everyone. So this is in the Kendo Show Early Access group. So you can see already that in this group, there's discussion going on. These aren't just questions to me. There's loads of people in the group. There's lots of other high-graded people in there. My poppy's fallen off. There's lots of other people in there with high grades and what have you. I'm gonna have to take off my poppy. Sorry about that. It's fallen off. So yeah, you know, you can post a question in there. Loads of other people get involved, which is really cool. Okay. I'm sorry because of my English. No, don't be sorry about that. It's great that you've posted something. I started Kendo a few months ago only, and I'm really involved in it. I'm looking for resources on the web to improve my practice, but I have some problems with Shiai. It's easy to find a lot of videos of All Japan Championships or World Championships. Most of the time those are without commentary, or sometimes commentary in Japanese. Does anyone have any links to videos of Shiai as TV broadcasts which would be commented in English in order to clearly understand why sometimes Ippon is awarded and sometimes it is not? I hope this question isn't too weak and can be understood. Thank you. Okay, so I think somebody already posted on that comment a link to the NHK World series where they kind of cover some Kendo Shiai and stuff, like they covered the All Japan Championships a couple of times and stuff like that. And I think they get Bennett Sensei from New Zealand on in that, and he always does he's on it a lot. Absolutely inspirational sensei, of course. Anything that he's involved with is absolutely worth your attention. But basically, yeah, I believe he does some commentary on that, if I remember correctly, explaining bits and what have you. But obviously, they're not going to be able, whenever you're commentating over a Shiai, they're never going to be able to, because of the complexity of the criteria of a scoring point, they're never going to be able to go into detail during the back and forth of a Shiai as to why a specific point was good enough and what it wasn't. They don't do that in Japanese either. When it's commentated in Japanese, they just say, oh, that was good enough, or they say, oh no, it wasn't quite good enough. You know, it's simple as that. And the reason it's like that is because the criteria for Ippon is called Yuko Datotsu, and I've done a video about it, so get on the YouTube channel and search the Kendo Show Yuko Datotsu for a start. Or I'm sure even if you wrote valid strikes, the Kendo Show valid strikes, it'd probably come up. And I go into the details of what constitutes Yuko Datotsu, so what has to happen, what has to be part of it to be awarded a point. However, it's not something that can ever be fully written down in black and white, and that's why it's difficult, and that's what's so interesting about Kendo as an activity, is because the criteria for a point are essentially based on the experience and opinion of the 3 people judging it. So they obviously use the criteria that is written down in black and white as a hard framework for that. But there's a grey area that has to be added to it that is the experience and the opinion of the judges. And that's why it's very, there's no black and white, this is always Ippon, this is never Ippon. There is cases where, you could say, well, that's never Ippon and this is always Ippon. But what I'm saying is it doesn't always fall into that category. Sometimes most of the time it's somewhere in between, and it's up to the judges to decide where on the scale it sits and where their bar is that it has to overpass for them to raise their flag. And then the 3 of them are doing that kind of independently, but at the same time working together as a team in order to make their decisions on awarding the points. And the only way to get better at understanding how they make these decisions is watch more and more and more of the shiai of that high level, and try and watch the points and watch the ones that are awarded, and try and kind of build up a I wouldn't say an understanding, but kind of you kind of build a mental pattern of what the good points look like. Okay, it's not to say that they never make mistakes and they don't sometimes award points they shouldn't, or sometimes don't award points that they should. Of course that happens. It's their Kendo is judged by human experience, and that's currently how we do it. We don't do it by computer or electronic scoring, so that's part of the system. Okay, last one. Hi Andy, I love you. Oh, thank you. I'm skipping over the bits where you guys are obviously saying nice things about me, because it's not, it feels a bit weird to sit on video and then read out these comments about me. But anyway, thank you. I have a question. Because of my long arms, my sensei recommended to me to get a longer tsukugawa. When held close by the tsuba, the end of the shinai should reach the arm. Close to the length of the forearm. When I try to get a longer tsukugawa from a close company, they charge separately for it, and they don't install it for me. They're hard to put together, especially for the first time. Does KendoStar do that for us? How much for the extra long tsukugawa? Not extra thick, just longer. I'm not sure if it's a super dry climate or just that I'm a Mengani hitter. I do maintenance every 2 weeks and put together pieces of old shinai into new ones that I call Franken shinai. Yeah, everybody calls them Franken shinai actually. They do not last as long as the new ones, but save some resources. Keep up the good work. Greetings from Texas. Okay, so let me just grab a shinai out of this box here. Right. Okay, so what you're talking about is the length of the scar. Obviously, lots of guides and what have you say that the length of the scar should be about the length of your forearm when you're holding it in this way, so something like this. And for me, this is about the perfect length. This is what I like. Now, a few years ago, I preferred much shorter. Maybe about 5 years ago, I preferred much shorter grips. And in Japan, that's much more popular these days, is having a much shorter grip. And then maybe about 2 years ago, I actually preferred a slightly longer grip. But these days, I've come around to, I pretty much like about this sort of length. Now, the thing is, there's 2 things I would say about it. One is that, yeah, that's the kind of basic guide for how you should decide the length of the scar. But at the same time, it's kind of different for everybody. Some people prefer a longer one, some people prefer a shorter one. If you're just starting out, if you've not got that much experience in Kendo, then yeah, you should just go with the standard length. To be honest, even if it's a bit shorter or what have you, you don't want to be spending loads of money if you're just starting out. If you feel like, if you've got a bit more experience, and you feel like you want to have a longer tsukugawa or a short tsukugawa, then it's totally fine to try that. What's not fine is when you have, let's say, a long scar, a really long scar, and then the tsuba only comes up to here, and there's a gap between the end of the scar and the tsuba. That's not allowed. Okay, that's not allowed. Your tsuba has to come to the end. Okay, so that's the only thing to bear in mind. But it's perfectly fine to experiment with longer or shorter tsuka. It's not a hard and fast rule. It's just a guide for when you're starting out as to roughly how long the tsuka should be. Now, in terms of getting hold of a longer tsukagawa, yeah, I understand the issues you're having, and that's because most companies, and ourselves, KendoStar included, for the most part, our shinai come fully assembled. So it isn't really possible for us to switch out the tsuka with longer ones so easily, because that's just how they're stocked. And as you can see, particularly some of our models, these are actually shrink wrapped. So we'd have to, you know, it's not totally impossible for us to do, but it becomes very cost inefficient for us to be able to offer that service, especially as it's not something that people commonly ask for. So I understand why it's difficult for that. On the KendoStar website, there's a couple of options that you do have though if you want a longer tsuka. First off, they don't make tsuka that long either, because in Japan there's not a massive demand for it, so it's very hard to find extra long tsuka in Japan, because most people want the shorter ones. So people consider the standard length as a long one. But what you can do is, we do have a section on the KendoStar website under shinai, and I think it's the like the premium shinai. They're a bit more expensive, but the ones that don't come fully assembled, we could arrange those with the longest possible tsuka for you. That's not a problem. But the other thing I'd recommend is check out the tenha shinai. We've basically, it says it's a Jordan shinai, but what makes it a Jordan shinai is that it's got a long tsuka, and that's because people that do Jordan often really prefer the long grip on the shinai. It's actually on sale right now. I think we've got 20% off on it. I've got one here, but basically it has a much longer tsuka than a regular shinai. So if I can just sort of find one to compare it against. And when I say much longer, I mean it's only like it's only like a centimeter or so, you know. But that actually feels quite a lot longer. This is basically too long, you know, a lot longer than the other one. As you can see, when I did that, this one fits just about right into the crook of my arm, whereas this one actually, if I hold it at the top, comes somewhat longer. So it does feel quite different. So this is definitely an option. This is now a little bit too long for me. Now, about 2 years ago, I probably would have liked this. But yeah, definitely check them out as well. They come fully assembled with the longer tsukagawa. Like I say, they're on sale at the minute, and it does say that they're Jordan shinai. But what makes them the Jordan shinai is that they've got the longer tsukagawa. So yeah, if you want one that's specifically got a long tsukagawa, then yeah, give the tenha a go. Okay. So yeah. That's it for today. I'm gonna have to dash because I am on short time again today. I am sorry about that. I will get back to doing these. I know I didn't put a video out yesterday as well. I'm sorry about that. I will try and get these videos out every day, but things are going a bit crazy here. I want to make a little apology to people that have ordered some of the Borga sets on KendoStar, particularly the Vanguard series. I know that a few of the sizes that we've had to keep people waiting a little bit, just because of how popular the set's been. We're literally selling the Vanguard a little bit faster than we can make it, but we're doing our best to get, it's only some of the particularly larger sizes that we've had a bit of trouble on. We are getting back on top with it. But a quick apology to everyone that's still waiting on a Vanguard set that they've ordered. We do normally ship them out in 24 hours because we do normally have them in stock here. But yeah, there has been a handful of folks that have been sort of put out on that because, like I say, just because of the immense popularity. It's been such a dash with it, to be honest. We've had shipments coming in and then they're just being reboxed and going out on the next truck. So yeah, apologies for that. The V1 set, check that out on KendoStar though, KendoStar.com. That's a fantastic set if you're just starting out at Kendo. If you've got beginners in your club, definitely check out the V1 set. It's very much like the Vanguard. It's just a slightly more economic version. So it doesn't have some of the features that the Vanguard do, but it has the main ones, particularly being very thick and protective and very comfortable. So it is a fantastic set if you're just starting out. It looks good as well, so it doesn't look like a cheap Boga set. It will last you well into your Dan grades. But it will feel comfortable, it'll protect you, which is especially important if you are a Kendo teacher. This is the one that I always recommend to the beginners at my club, because the last thing I want is for them to wear a Boga set from another company, of course, but from another company that's cheap and hurt, and they end up feeling the pain of getting one of those nasty kote strikes or something, and then they end up quitting Kendo. That's the last thing I want. So that's why we even came up with the V1. So definitely check that out. Definitely recommend it to the beginners in your club, and do all your shopping at KendoStar.com, because that's what keeps this channel going, these videos going, to be honest. So if you enjoy them, make sure you're shopping at KendoStar.com. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that sort of stuff, and get in the Kendo Show early access group. There's a link down there in the description. Thanks a lot for watching again today, and I'll see you all next time.